Scumbags, it's been a little while. Welcome back. Noah and I are going to bring you a more quick hitter, less of an hour and a half long marathon like we're used to, and more so maybe 30, 40 minutes, just kind of catching up on what's been going on in the off season, spring game recap, some stuff about recruits, transfers, etc. Noah, I know you had a cool event happen this morning, so I'll let you get started. What you been up to lately?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy off season, guys, as we're into spring ball now. Tyler, and of course, is not here tonight. He will be recording on Wednesday. Also, to everybody that was following along, we did record last week, but just had some really bad problems with the YouTube upload. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen again. But by the time we figured it out, it was post spring game. So everything we talked about was kind of not that important anymore. But anyways, no, big news this morning for just all the sports fans out there. As many of you know, I live in the Charlotte area out of the Scumbags. This morning was just hanging out in the South End area before work, and the Red Rifle, the Horned Frog, Andy Dalton, Cincinnati Bengal legend, TCU legend for all our college scumbags out there. Pulled up outside and I was like, holy shit, that's Andy Dalton. And like, I do see a lot of like pro athletes, especially like the soccer players. A lot of those guys are out in Uptown a lot. Very cool. But to see like a college football legend like Andy Dalton and not to even talk about his NFL career, just talk about what he did at TCU. And then he asked me who I pulled for. And I was like, yeah, I'm a Duke football fan. And he goes, no way. And I was like, oh, yeah, buddy, been doing this for over 20 years.
What did
And
he
then
say to that when you said you like Duke football?
oh yeah, and dude, he cracked up. He's like, you don't hear that too much, even in North Carolina. And like, dude, he was funny. Like, he had a good personality to him. He's just a funny guy. But super down to earth. Got a cool pic with him, posted on the Twitter and everything. But Horned Frog legend. So Scums just wanted to show some respect to the frogs. I told him about the podcast. He thought the name was really funny. He's like, that's a cool gig. I was like, yeah, man, absolutely. So just a little fun story to kick us off. We are going to be getting into spring game portal news. We've had a couple transfers enter the last couple of days. We'll be bringing you guys some news on that. We're going to be talking about kind of areas we would like to see Duke attack in the portal. What we thought about the spring game, what Eli thought about it in person, some of the takes he's got on that, and just kind of talk Duke football. So go ahead and let Eli kind of lead it off with some spring game stuff.
Yeah, yeah, spring game. Before we get into like talking like the on-field thing, on the note of like meeting, stars and college legends. It wasn't quite meeting Andy Dalton, but our friend Garrett and I were sitting together at the game and we saw Eli Pankel walking around the stadium. So we were like, dude, let's go track down Eli and talk to him. So ran up on the concourse, talked to Eli Pankel. He was actually with a group of former other Duke football players. He was there with Star Thomas. Where were you for weeks 3 through 5, Star Thomas? Oh man.
Do you
So
remember the day the world stood still?
the world
That's
stood still.
Thomas.
The day he outplayed Omar and Hampton, that in itself, hang the banner, that was sick.
Heisman.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was cool getting to talk to Eli Pankel. I've run into him a few times. He's always just the kindest, most chill dude. Star was cool. We asked this one dude who was standing with him to take our picture, and he was kind of like, "Oh, I guess I'm just a camera guy." Didn't really know who it was. I knew he looked familiar, and I assumed he was a former player, but didn't really look big enough to be like, one of the needle movers, I guess. Turns out it was Will Goldberg. So Will, I apologize for the disrespect. It wasn't intentional, but also funny enough, Jordan Waters was with him.
Oh,
Who Jordan
old
Waters was with him.
V6,
Yeah,
old
old V6
V6
cop car.
Camaro.
Yeah, yeah,
Woo.
yeah.
Life wasn't that sweet down in Raleigh. That's for
Yeah.
damn sure.
I think it's telling that Waters left Duke for what he thought was going to be greener pastures, didn't quite pan out, and he was at he was at the Carolina game and the spring game. Nothing personal against Jordan, he did what he thought was best for him, but it's not funny, but it is a little funny. We're not going to get into that. Anyway, spring game. Spring game was cool. Definitely better product than last year's spring game. For those of you who watched or were at the spring game last year, you know that hell, I mean, Duke hardly had an offensive line at this time last year, so they kind of just threw together like some 7-on-7 two-hand touch, doing some drills here and there. It wasn't really much of a game. Luckily this year nobody's ACL got torn, so that was good. Because last year we lost Jaden Moore in the spring game.
On the first play too. Like that
First
was so
play
brutal.
gets carted off. They had to like swipe the Gatorade bottles off the back of the cart and make room for Jaden. Oh man. Yeah, it was good. I thought, I mean, obviously it's a similar situation going into this spring game as it was last year. You know, the everybody's eyes are on the new portal quarterback. Last year, everybody was just dying to get a look at Malik. This year, same deal. Everyone's looking at just dying to get a look at Darian. And he delivered. I think that Darian showed a lot of promise in areas that we're, kind of looking for. Like, how is he going to do in the short passing game? How is he going to do moving around the pocket? Is he going to lower his shoulder? Is he afraid to get hit? These are all questions that people have. And he was looking good. Darian looked really good. Receivers looked pretty solid. On the note, and I'm sorry to ramble for a long time, but on the note of receivers, I got to see Manny at one of the baseball games a few weeks ago against State, and then also at the radio show this past week. He mentioned both times that basically our best receivers, to no uncertain terms, or for lack of a better word, our best receivers aren't on campus yet.
Yeah.
We don't have Angelo Anthony yet. He's still with Oklahoma, and we don't have Cooper Barkett yet, who's still over at where is he at?
Snagging that Harvard degree right
Harvard.
now. He's
That's right.
finishing that last semester out. That boy's getting ready to walk out with a Goldman Sachs job in case football don't work
Oh
out. That's
my
for damn
God.
sure.
Imagine being that elite. Like you get your Harvard degree, you're balling out, you're like an ESPN like award winner finalist, and then you go and get your grad work done at Duke, and then you're continuing to play. I mean, what a G, what a
Life
baller.
ain't bad for Cooper, that's for sure.
Life is not bad at all.
And speaking on Andrew, part of the show today, of course, touching on recruits, transfers. Of course, some were on the field for the spring game, some early enrollees, both from the portal and our high school class. But Simmons, like we were talking about from Oklahoma, it's a big time playmaker. That's an electric football player. What he did at Michigan during their championship year was pretty phenomenal. Got a lot of playing time in games that mattered towards the end of the year, including the playoffs where he had a touchdown. So it's like, Duke's bringing a guy in who caught a touchdown in the national championship. You know what I mean? So that's like a relatively big deal from the terms of he was bought by Oklahoma's NIL money, just had a horrific injury. And, Duke medical staff, that's one thing I'll give our staff. I don't ever read too much into transfers, injuries prior to Duke because they seem to do a phenomenal job at keeping these guys as healthy as possible, barring freak accidents like torn ACLs, non-contacts, things like that. So I've seen a lot of people on 247 especially saying like the kids made a paper mache, but give it some time. Let him get into the conditioning over fall camp, and if he's as good as advertised, we can have a big time number one receiver.
He's gonna get to know Henry Beelan real well on the training table, unfortunately.
Poor
Uh hate to
old
say
Henry.
it. We love him to death. But yeah, speaking of 247 and Angelo Anthony, I mean, if you read, like, he was a three-star recruit coming out of high school, spent significant time with Michigan, significant time at Oklahoma. One of my colleagues at work actually just recently graduated from Michigan, and he spoke highly of Anthony. So if you read Anthony's profile, one of the recruiting analysts, Alan something, I can't pronounce his last name, but he says it reminds him of Deontay Burnett from the Titans. Long, thin frame, very smooth, natural athlete. Changes directions it comes in and out of his breaks very fluidly. Serves him well as a route runner when he creates separation, which is something that I don't feel like Duke has had a lot of over the years, like in terms of elite route runners. I mean, we've had your Connor Vernons, we've had your Jamison Crowders. Um, well, I mean, let's not forget, Duke is wide receiver U. I mean, we've got five of the top 10 all-time ACC reception leaders played at Duke. As wild as that sounds,
Yep.
Duke is wide receiver U. So
As fake as it sounds, go look it up
yeah,
because that is the truth.
yeah, it is the truth. I mean, TJ Ramming legend is up there as well.
That's
Um,
probably the best true route runner we've ever had at Duke. And I will say, Feemster said that on the pod with us last year, and a couple other Blue Devils have mentioned that, publicly. It's like, man, we had a really bad offensive coordinator, like always. But back then it was the Ropers. And,
some things
TJ
never
Roman,
change.
when they just talk about like who was just a boss in practice, like ran the crispiest routes, had dudes on their ankles, going to the locker room to get taped up, like Roming was always mentioned. I feel like that's a guy we never got to see like hit that full potential back in the day. So hopefully with Andrew coming in, we'll get to see a big time playmaker like that.
Yeah, I think that TJ was a victim of what we saw a lot of like in the early Cutcliffe days and like the pre-Cutcliffe days where like he was just a dog and he had what it took. It just he was part of some not so great teams because TJ was there towards like the end when the Cutcliffe regime started kind of sliding a little
Yeah, he
bit.
was kind of the back end of the Daniel Jones years, front end
Yeah,
of the, Chase Bryce experiment type shit.
the beginning of the end, pretty much.
Yeah.
Uh, anyhow, if you look at and then also back to Cooper Barkay, I mean these dudes are both similar sizes. Cooper 6'1", 195, Angel 6'2". So it's good to have two guys who are over 6 feet tall, which not something we're real used to at the wide receiver position at Duke.
Yeah, and
So
that's not a knock on Hagens or Queso. They're going to
no, but
be
you're still going to want some
integral.
length.
Yeah, exactly. They're integral parts of the receiver room, like we've all said. But we've all also said that, like, we needed that portal receiver bad in the offseason. And we could still afford to probably grab one more in the spring portal just in case one of those two don't work out. But for Duke to be successful this year, we need a deeper receiver room. It can't just be Hagens and Queso. As good as those guys are, they got to have a little backup and even a little front runners. We got to kind of have an A man out there. So hoping to see that improve and kind of, find what that group's going to be this year for sure.
Yeah. And in your mind, just of the four, it's no secret. I think the top four receivers, like the main guys who are going to see the most snaps are definitely going to be Anthony Higgins, Barkay, and Brown. And I think of
Yeah,
those four,
100%.
who do you anticipate, in your opinion, being like the biggest like load bearing guy, like the new like wide receiver one,
I
basically.
say wide receiver one in two aspects. Wide receiver one from just a talent and playmaking perspective, Andrew for sure.
Yeah.
Wide receiver one from a production, yardage, catches, third down, and short catches, definitely Hagens. I feel like those two guys will both lead, but in very separate fashions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think he's gonna really shine as like a slot receiver, just being a shorter dude who's small, who can kind of get lost.
Great route tree.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the one video of him with his TD against State where like he kind of cuts in, then cuts back out, and just gets that short TD. Like I expect a lot more of that this year. Um, yeah, no, receivers excited about it. And on the
Offensive
note,
line.
offensive line, uh, let's see. I'm gonna be
Kind of
so
well
real.
rounded from what they've had some beats from what I'd heard at the spring game, but and in
Yeah,
fall camp and in spring camp some of the practice videos that came out and some of the people that go to the open practices that post in 247. It seems like our experienced guys like Fina transferred from last year. Pickett, those kind of guys are, probably doing well. Some of the younger guys probably taking a little bit longer to mesh. Hopefully, that's something with having more offensive linemen to help practice against that'll kind of fix itself. Because last year, I mean, we were all terrified during the off season. We thought Malik was going to die within the first few weeks of the year. Then the O line turned out to be fine. So, I'm trusting the process that with a good coach and with the talent that's there returning, that it'll be a pretty solid unit.
yeah. I think that I mean, again, a year ago we didn't have an offensive line. We had no one. We had like Justin Pickett with like
We had Caleb
one
Perez,
leg and like
ninth year
Caleb
senior.
Perez. Yeah. I mean, now we've got, I mean, honestly, I don't hate the line we've got. I like it. We've got all guys who have played together before and saw a good time played last year. We got Justin Pickett in no order, Matt Craycraft, Micah Sahakian.
Fina
I'm blanking. Bruno Fina,
and Parker.
Brian Parker, who, let's not forget, got some
All
serious recognition last
all
year.
American.
Really stepped up.
Yeah.
I just think that the pass blocking is no problem. They were good at that. I just think they got to work on the run blocking, which is nothing new.
Yeah.
However, there is going to be less of a load on them this year, I think, just because Mensa is going to be more mobile and be able to move around more. Malik, for all his, the great things that he did, he was kind of a statue back there.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is definitely going to be like less, again, load, I guess is a good word, on the shoulders of the linemen. So speaking of the linemen, I think on the other side of the ball, D line is looking as good as ever. I mean, the two ends, Bryce Davis, VJ. I mean, that's pretty a lethal. That's a lethal combo. There was one play, and I only caught like the end of it, but it looked to me like Bryce Davis like busted off the edge and got to got to Mensa and made some contact with him, and actually got flagged in the spring game. But it shows that
We love that.
yeah, we
We
love that.
love that.
The Brian Cushing type, the kind of dude to ignore the red jersey and just
I
hit
don't
the
give a
quarterback
shit
in
if his
practice anyway.
NIL's 2.8 million. Give you got to rough him up a little bit.
Yeah,
He ain't the
welcome to
golden
Duke,
boy.
motherfucker. Yeah.
Like let's not get it twisted here. This is not Arch Manning. We don't have the second coming of Christ at quarterback. He's allowed to get roughed up a little in practice. He's got that'll make him better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, the D line, like you're saying, that's a deep unit with experienced as well as youthful talent. VJ, Wesley Williams.
Ah, Wes.
I
God
mean,
love him.
Wes is a dog, man. That guy just can play the outside edge of a football field.
Yeah.
Bryce Davis, you got some really solid interior defensive linemen coming back.
Aaron Hall.
Aaron Hall, especially if that works out, because Aaron's got that experience, but he also had a really good year transitioning from exterior line to interior line last year. I was thoroughly impressed.
Yeah.
Preston Watson in the end. I mean, that guy's he's a
Yes.
dog. He likes to fucking get down there and play. I enjoy watching him.
Yeah. And like the only it's all we didn't really lose. I mean, we lost Ryan Smith because he graduated, but I mean, I think like you're talking about all those guys, they're all going to need more tenure. You know, Preston is going to be in his second season. Bryce is going to get beefed up by Feely in the offseason. So I mean, I'm expecting more big things. I mean, honestly, the D line was probably the brightest spot of any position group on the team last year. I truly believe that.
It's one of the best groups in the country, and I would put it up probably in the top 5 to top 7 as a total front defensive line.
Yo, like top to bottom, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to find a deeper group with more talent.
Yeah, I agree. As far as linebackers go, I was talking to our friend Nick Morris earlier today. He was asking me what I thought about the spring game. I'm looking forward to seeing this duo. I'm looking forward to seeing Nick Morris playing full time. We know what Trey Freeman can do. Trey Freeman had a little bit of a dip in productivity last year, but that's not really his fault.
Little
Yeah,
milk carton season.
we'll see if we'll see if he's going to beat the milk carton allegations this year. Um, I just think that part of that is like he was playing a new position last year, I believe. Uh, gonna miss the hell out of Ozzie Nicholas, man. What a dog.
And Alex Howard too. Give both them
Ugh.
fellas the flowers. They carried last year.
I mean, are there any like more beautiful like 1 year Duke players in history? I don't think so. I mean, we're talking like Duke basketball type shit where somebody comes in for 1 year and makes a huge impact and leaves.
He's our Cooper flag. You
Yeah,
know,
Ozzy was our Cooper flag.
that's our Cooper.
Um, yeah, no, looking forward to seeing a healthy Nick Morris this year because like he was out all last year pretty much.
Got hurt early.
Yeah, like Elon early.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like the year before that, he got some reps towards the end of 2023 because like he kind of took Cam Dillon's job. Uh,
Cam
but
Newton. Oh my
uh,
god.
but you know, looking forward to a full season of Nick Morris with you know the practice and the experience that he's gained over the years. Looking forward to seeing a full season of healthy Nick Morris.
Absolutely.
As far as
Linebackers.
secondary, oh, go ahead.
Just one more point on the linebackers. We were talking about portal receivers earlier. Uh, that's kind of one thing as a group we've discussed throughout the scumbags, throughout just other Duke fans in the community. Not necessarily that we're looking to go get linebackers to play over Nick or Trey, but we need a little bit of depth
You
here
still want the depth,
in the
yeah.
nicest way possible. Our twos and threes cannot consist of memorable factor and Luke Murray. And like God, I don't mean that in any way
It's
other
no
than
disrespect,
just
it's no shade, but
it's
some
not
guys are
shade, it's
just
just truth, boys. Glad y'all are on the team. But like heaven forbid Morris go down, Freeman go down. Buddy, you better hope Bradley Gompers is Brian Urlacher. You better hope this kid from Pennsylvania that's a true freshman, 18 years old, is the next Urlacher if that happens.
oh God.
We're in bad shape after that.
At that point, I'm hitting up Ben Humphreys on LinkedIn and asking if he has another year of eligibility laying
Yeah,
around
somebody called
somewhere.
Joe Giles Harris back from Cincinnati. We gotta get him and Ben back together. Oh, salt and pepper back there. Them boys
Ugh,
were nasty.
CTE certified.
God, them boys were something else to watch.
But speaking of like the secondary, I mean, outside, God willing, Chandler Rivers stays. God willing, there was no huge fallout with his dad in the 247 scandal recently. Uh, Outside of Chandler, is Joshua Pickett back?
No, 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 no. Go.
Who else? I mean, not to sound like a fake fan, but who else do we have at the cornerback position outside of Chandler? I'm blanking right
So
now.
I was looking into this earlier. Guys, I thought were going to be filling the roles. One that got some playing time last year, kind of late, was sorry, just one second. He's got kind of a weird name. I don't want to mispronounce it.
Oh, was that the dude who I said Madden oh 05 last name?
Kamari Robinson.
Okay.
He's the redshirt sophomore corner. Played a lot last year towards the end. We have Musa Kane as well. That's a guy. That's a
Musa.
guy the Scums are really high on. We're high on them last year. Got some good playing time. Our safeties are kind of loaded in a way that some of those guys might be playing some corner, like Zach Jackson from Smyrna, Georgia, redshirt freshman, really high rated recruit 2 years ago. I definitely think we'll be seeing some of him on the field this year. Landon Callahan, he was a highly rated 3-star recruit from Ronald Reagan here in North Carolina. So there's definitely some depth there. It's a little bit young, but with a guy like Chandler Rivers and then safeties like Terry Moore and Deshaun Stone, you've got that depth where in the back end it can make up for some youthful mistakes on some tricky routes to cover and stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough with the safeties because like Stinson graduated, he's gone. Terry Moore's out with an ACL injury. He tore it in the fucking Gator Bowl. That's so Duke.
There's so like little info on that too. Like, I mean,
There's so
nobody
little info on that that like I almost wonder if like we're not supposed to know about that and be broadcasting it to the public.
pretty much, and like that's the thing is like I feel like a select group of people on Duke football Twitter like talk about it and post, and then but like it's nowhere else. Not on Facebook, not on Instagram, nada.
Because Terry Moore just got nominated like top like whatever returning
Pro
safeties.
Football Focus, he was the number one returning safety this year. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I was like, oh, do they not know that he's not returning this
But like,
season?
what
Or
if he's just like gonna be healthy and play week one? What if it's the complete opposite? Like, yeah, he was injured, but like the offseason program's just been great and he's
I
gonna be
mean,
fine by September. Like
we are
that's
talking
the
about Duke
hopefulness for
University.
sure.
Yeah. I mean, as it stands right now, Stinson's gone, Moore's out. So it's like Deshaun Stone,
Goat.
Leon Griffin, Kenzie Paul, Travis Bates. Is Travis Bates still here?
Yeah, then you got Placide.
Yeah.
He's
Let's
pretty
see.
I like he's had
Oh,
some meaningful snaps.
Caleb Weaver.
Yeah, transfer, definitely.
Completely
He's gonna
forgot
get
about
some
Caleb
meaningful
Weaver.
time.
Yeah, he's I think Caleb Weaver's gonna make an impact opposite Chandler Rivers, and I think his mom is also gonna make an impact. She's a goat. I don't know if I've ever seen a more like supportive Duke mom. You know, people love talking about how great the Duke basketball moms are, but I'm like, dude,
God,
you've
if
never,
you would have met Shireen Monk.
yeah, you've never spent time around the Duke football moms, man. Shout out Shireen Monk. Shout out Maria Dalmolin. Shout
Mama
out,
Freeman.
yeah, for real. Shout out Cheryl Rivers. I think that's her name.
Yep.
The goats. Um,
Daryl's wife, Mrs. Hasley, she's always real nice.
Kristen, yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she's great. Todd Polino's mom, she's as nice as could ever be. One of
Oh,
the
forgetting her
sweetest
name.
people. I always blank on her name. I'm friends on Facebook. Really nice.
Yeah,
Jacqueline. Yeah, great lady.
Jacqueline Polino. His dad's the go-to, Terry. He's a real
Yeah,
nice guy. Like finance bro from Charlotte, real cool dude. Got a house on Lake Norman type shit.
cool guy.
Yeah. I mean that about wraps it up. As far as special teams go, I mean, I'm expecting Todd's gonna be the starting kicker, obviously. As
Paid
far
punt.
as Cade punting it, as far as, kickoff return and punt returns, I don't know if Quishawn Brown is going to spend as much time returning kicks as, he's going to have more responsibility in the receivers room this year, and he's going to be more important than he was last year, so to speak. So I don't know how much they're going to be having him return kicks. So it might be more on like Peyton Jones or like a more reserve wide receiver type of deal.
And we got some youthful guys that, a lot of these young, better recruits the last 2 or 3 years that are kind of in that red shirt freshman to red shirt sophomore gap now. I feel like we could definitely find some good talent and speed there to use for special teams purposes to save, our main guys for now. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's a pretty great wrap up on the spring game stuff. Definitely just wanted to touch, I guess, for the fans, everybody listening, kind of upcoming stuff, things we're planning on, how the pod's going to be kind of coming out. We're going to be doing conference breakdowns, kind of like last year again. Also, be doing like the Duke position breakdowns, separating those episodes for you guys going into the recruits, things like that. Eli's been working on some pretty big like player interviews for us, former players, guys that have reached out and follow the pod. Just a lot of cool stuff working. Got it. Started towards the end of the year. I think Eli was saying, we were getting pretty consistent with, over 115, 130 views, which in the Duke football terminology, that feels like
It was like a
thousands.
thousand. Yeah. A thousand
Like, I mean,
plus.
y'all don't understand how much, like, how cool that is to us. That even more than just 10 of you want to hear us talk about Duke football. So we do really appreciate that. We're really glad to have another season two. Season two of the Scums. We don't know how many there'll be, but we're gonna make sure it's a damn lot of them. That's for sure.
Did you want to touch on transfer news? I mean, we don't have,
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know
we
if
can
we've
talk
had a
about
whole
the
lot of
two guys that
guys.
entered. Yeah,
I don't know if we have a whole lot of guys coming into Duke at this point yet that we haven't talked about, but as far as guys transferring out, our
Sub
backup
Zero.
backup punter Ryan Levy is still looking for a job. So if you guys know anyone who needs a job, Ryan Levy is looking for a job. Rent Monty is still in the portal, I believe.
Rents due,
The rent is due. It was due. It was due. It's not due anymore.
past
Uh,
due.
it's the rent's past due. I think somebody get Campbell on the phone. I think that the Fighting Camels could use a quarterback. That's the thing, man. That's a dude who like couldn't crack like a starting roster at Duke could go down to Bowie's Creek and light shit up.
Shred, dude. He could
Go
shred.
shred. Watch Daddy sling it.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. Because Rent Monty was a cool dude. Like, I mean, just a nice guy, but like, oh man, he would have tore Bowie's Creek to shreds.
Get him down there. Get him on the phone.
Marquise Collins entered the portal today. That's kind of the most recent one.
Which is a
But
shame because at the
yeah,
spring game we were talking about, he just looked like 220 pounds of man. That's a big dude. He just
he's
couldn't
been
stay
at Duke
healthy.
for 3 years and has 4 years of eligibility left. That's how injured he's been. I mean, the kid can't catch a break, and
That's a
like
shame.
it sucks that like Duke didn't kind of find a spot for him. But when you've got Jones, Shepard, Castle, the dogs we've got, there's just no room.
More,
I
yeah.
understand that one completely, especially with Jaquez returning too.
Yeah. That running back room should eat this year. I'm looking forward to it. If our O line can figure out run blocking, we're gonna be in
It,
good shape in the running
we're looking
game.
like a 2013, like Jalea Duncan, Shaq Powell, and Josh Sneed, man. Like it feels that way.
As our buddy Bobby always says, Jalea Duncan was a man who ran with bad intentions.
God,
Bad
love
intentions.
him. Would love
Uh
to figure out where he's at in life and get him on the pod. You know what I mean?
yeah, we'll track him down.
We'll track that.
Uh Let's see. And then as of today, Spencer Jones, who's a wide receiver who never really saw any action, entered the portal. He's a dude who I think he came in last year, right?
True
Spencer
freshman
Jones.
last year. Yep.
True freshman last year, didn't really see the field.
Just doesn't
Best
have
of
the
luck.
body for college football at the P4 level. Poor dude's
Yeah.
like 6'8", but he's like 130 pounds. It's bad.
Yeah. I hope he finds a spot to land. Again, Bowie's Creek is always an option. Fighting Camels are always looking for depth.
Good
Outside of
education down
that,
there. Just ask Garrett.
that's right. Gary can hook him up. Outside of that, is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, I mean, pretty quiet spring. Exactly what you want as a Duke fan. You want your portal in the winter time to be the one where you're having to build a roster. You don't want to have to build a roster in the spring. So,
Yeah.
I'm content. Guys, we're going to be rolling out episodes quite a bit coming now for the off season. As Duke has wrapped up spring ball, we're going to be touching into college football as a whole, NIL as a whole, just things going on in the football world. doing position breakdowns, conference breakdowns for you guys. Just trying to feed as much content as we can to keep pushing the Duke football narrative. But yeah, other than that, just stay scum and having a great time with the boys for year two.
Yeah, as Noah said earlier, I'll touch on it. Yeah, we are working on getting some bonus content because there is only so much that we can talk about in the off season. You know, there only is so much material to make multiple 40-minute episodes, but we are working on getting a few former players involved, and I think one of the areas that Duke football falls short on is uh acknowledging their history and their stars. And so I think that's an area that we can come into play because there's so many new Duke football fans and there's so many casual Duke football fans who are unaware of the history and like some of our former stars who may not have spent so much time in the NFL, may not have been the most elite college players, but they meant something to us. And I think that's an area where we're going to come in and try to, give those guys their flowers and put them onto you and educate the youth, so to speak, on some of our former stars that we watched as kids. So we're gonna work on getting some guys on the pod throughout the offseason to get you guys your fix of Duke football. But outside of that, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Love every scumbag.
Appreciate it.
um
Stay scummy.
yeah, all right, we'll see you all soon. Duke motherfucker.
DD.